We welcomed Adrienne Galloway. Adrienne, welcome aboard.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. So you earned a degree from the University of Maryland with a degree in organizational and behavioral psychology, and then you were a former military fitness trainer with the Marines, and you were stationed in Okinawa, Japan for 7 years. This is a two-part question. My question is, how did you get involved in personal training? And then also explain what was that experience like training the Marines?
I initially got involved with personal training. Basically, at the time when I was married to a gentleman that he was in the Marine Corps. And I got approached by, believe it or not, was start off with just doing bodybuilding. I'm like, said, okay, no, I'm not this person. I can't do bodybuilding, but you have this physique. So one thing led to another, making a very long story short, I started competing, and at that point of me doing the competing, I started getting into personal training. And my ex was an all-Marine boxer, so therefore I was always physically fit on that aspect of it, but I really didn't get serious with the personal training until I was in my 30s, when I actually did my first bodybuilding show in my 30s. So, and that's pretty much really how I really got into doing the personal training. I was always athletic. Growing up in New York, back then, it was always like handball and different sports like that. But again, my life just really took off on the personal aspect of fitness and health, again, in my 30s. Because, growing up in New York, trust me, it wasn't all about health and wellness. I mean, it was Mickey D's, White Castles, Nathan's. So, we all grew up eating that fast food and cleaning off your plate. I was one of the person that did their morning PTs with them. And when I say that, at the time, when I was overseas, they did a lot of morning PT where they have other aerobic instructors conducting aerobic activity. The difference, how I pretty much really got more involved with working with different units is because of my ex. I would get up to do their morning PT where I did for his unit, period. And then from there, it grew on basically to the way that I would actually do my morning PT. It wasn't back then. They did a lot of step aerobics. I got more involved due to the fact that, like I said, I have a martial arts background. My ex was an all-Marine boxer, so I took from martial arts to doing their morning PTs as well as boxing. And then from that point on, it really took off from there. And yes, it was challenging because, again, the group that I had to teach in the morning is like, okay, what can this woman teach about martial arts or boxing? So I had to actually go in and prove myself. So I had to really work hard at it. And trust me, it was challenging that because I said, if I go down, I can't go down. Let them show them that I can go down as well. So it was very, very challenging. But I made it through it, and trust me, I made them work for it. To the point, at that point, I started doing stuff for morning PTs for the Air Force, a few Navy, but most of that, again, was mostly the Marine Corps. And then at that point, and they would actually hire me out of their own petty cash to come do their morning PT. And then from that point on, after that, I started working for MWR as the weight management for MWR while I was out there in Okinawa, because I was in actually Okinawa for about 8.5 years.
I want to talk a little bit about Donna Richardson. What was her influence like as far as helping with your goals?
Like I said, it's very funny how I met Donna. Like I said, how you say you always want to manifest something. And I always manifest that one day I will meet Donna Richardson. And we both were doing the same thing at the same time. And how I was able to meet Donna, I was good friends with Pat Smith, Emmett Smith's wife, who used to play for the NFL for us, the Cowboys. She actually introduced me to Donna. And from that point on, Donna and I became very good friends, and I was part of her team for probably about maybe 5 years, where we did Sweating in the Spirit together, as well as when she was doing her body gospel. I've learned a lot from her on the spiritual aspect of things. Again, she was part of Sweating in the Spirit, and I was one of her fitness specialists that traveled around with her to do her Sweating in the Spirit and when she was doing body gospel.
The next thing I want to talk about is the importance of health and fitness in minority communities. I know there's this stigma where black women always I don't want to work out because I don't want my hair to get wet and things of that nature. And it's still, in a lot of our communities, health and fitness is something that's still on the move. It's getting better, but it's still not really something that has grabbed our black and brown people. How do you spread that word about getting health and fitness and wellness out to minority communities?
Well, first of all, they have to understand, I look at it basically as just being it's just an excuse. I have other women and or men that, work out. When the women would come out, look at, they spend all this money on their hair. But spending money on your hair is one thing, but if the inside is all jacked up, what is it? When you have a beautiful outside, and then your inside's all jacked up is the way I look at it. And that's not, who considers that healthy? Because at the end of the day, if you want to look at it, what they're saying right now, the estimate is 450 million adults globally right now that have diabetes. And the sad part about it, they're saying in the year, 2040, it's going to increase to 642 million. So that's something we have to really do something about. Hair, or you're going to kill yourself. Because the major factor for a lifestyle is such as important as inappropriate for nutrition. We're not mindful of what we take in. The lack of physical activity. We have to move more. Because if not, we don't do that. Also, it's going to increase as far as obesity, the rate of our obesity. So we really have to sit back and look at what we're doing to ourselves. Because it's not just about health and fitness. It's also, you have to include, it's the importance of it's health, fitness, and wellness. You have to, all three of those components have to be joined together. Because it's about a lifestyle improvement and growth. And that's the biggest thing, because it's attitude and behavior. So that's where the wellness comes in. Because if we're not moving more, we're actually killing ourselves. If we're not eating the right foods, we're killing ourselves. Not saying that you don't have to stop, splurging or have a good time. I'm not saying that. We can all have a good time. But we have to be very mindful about what we're putting into our bodies. Because we're killing ourselves. Then you have the everyday life, which is stress component. That's going to kill you. And stress will kill you. Relationships, we have to put that. That's part of wellness. Your career. So all these things are in that component where we're actually killing ourselves, because the minute that something happens in our lives, we have those setbacks, the stressors, the relationship, the career. And what do? We take upon ourselves to feed ourselves with all the bad nutrients into our body. And if we don't do that, we're killing ourselves still because of the stress. Then, of course, you have genetics. That's part of it too, which also causes the risk factor in heart disease and other health issues. So we have to start taking the time to look at what we're doing to ourselves. You can look one way on the outside, but our foundation is not there. We have to build a very strong foundation, because if you're so worried about how you look on the outside and not taking care of yourself, I call that health to wealth, because you're going to spend more money on medication and meds. I had a client that would spend a month. If he didn't have insurance, he would spend almost $1,000, from $350 to almost $1,000 a month just on meds. And even with his insurance, he's spending almost $200-something a month. What would you rather do? Take that extra money and splurge it on yourself, or into medical? We have to stop being lazy, especially with our health, and especially if we're the breadwinner for our family.
Wow, that's very interesting, and you've hit all cylinders on that one. And let's transition now to something that you mentioned about, which is food. A lot of our communities are food deserts. Let's face it, for a long time, there's always been a lack of adequate grocery stores and farmers markets and things of that nature in order to keep black and brown people healthy. So are you a part of some type of coalition or some type of club to bring more of those type of things into those neighborhoods that have food deserts?
Unfortunately, no, I'm not. I'm as that educator. When I say that educator, is to educate people that, yes, everyone's talking about organic, and you hear it all the time, that, you know what, I can't, afford, to buy, these plant growns or vegetables or fruit. But yes, if you go to our local market and support our local market, a lot of them have, it's affordable. And not only is it affordable, you don't have to worry about all the different pesticides, opposed to what's actually in some of the grocery stores. I'm not saying all of them are not healthy, but people are talking about, you know what they can't afford. Go out and support your local farm market. It's the best way to go. And so I support the local side, again, the local farm. I'm not saying whether you're going to either Kroger's, Fry's, Sprouts, all those places. Yes, they are good. And always do seasonal as well. So going out to the local farm markets to me, is always the way to go. Because, again, now you're supporting them.
Tell our audience where they can find you on social media.
On social media, I'm on Instagram, which my Instagram is AG007. And on Facebook, it's just under Adrienne Galloway, which is ADRIENNE Galloway. I'm on Twitter, which is at IamAG Fit Club.
Well, you heard it from her. She's keeping people healthy, fit, and also keeping people well. Adrienne Galloway. Adrienne, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program.
Oh, and thank you for having me on.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.